Hi, I'm Melissa from SoGoSurvey. We all know that 2 wrongs don't make a right, but maybe 5 Fs could make an A. Stick with me today and we'll take a closer look at some top tips to help you and your participants pass your next quiz with flying colors. Let's take a look. While you might be familiar with quizzes from your school days or university studies, quizzes can be a really great way to help you understand something like personality, whether someone's a good fit for a role, or even assessing training. So a few quick tips that'll help you understand whether your assessment really measures up. First of all, you need a better quiz. Keep that in mind as your goal. And the first most important thing to know is you've got to know your stuff. There's nothing worse than seeing a quiz that is poorly designed by someone who is not familiar with the content being assessed. Accuracy is the most important part. If you're testing other people, you've got to pass your own test first, of course. So being a real expert in this, or having at least really good research skills so you can double check your work before you launch, is absolutely critical. Of course, in the technical structure here, use the correct assessment question types. Make sure that you've got real scores and everything like this added for everything that you need. It seems kind of silly to say, but my background is in education, and I can tell you I've seen a lot of beginning teachers or beginning quiz makers who forget completely to include the correct answer. That's a huge risk, of course, so please double check and review anything well before you launch. Have someone on your team look at it yourself again later if you're working alone, but you do need that double check and review. Also keep in mind too, and this is probably something that comes in general earlier, but also is really good in that review process, what is the point of this assessment? An assessment to be valid, to be reliable, to be, all of those kinds of things we're looking for in a good assessment needs to stick with the objectives that you've set forth. So if you're asking people to, if you're, in our picture here, we've got basketball, so you're thinking about, if you're asking people, giving an assessment on how good they are at free throws, don't ask them to shoot it from the 3-point line. Like, ask the correct questions to assess the objectives that you've set forth. It's not fair, it's not appropriate to test people on skills that you haven't given them information about. If it's something like a personality quiz or anything like that, sure, everything is fair game, but make sure that you're clear on what your goals are so that you're able to use those results in your planned manner. You cannot use them to assess achievement, for example, if you are asking questions about the wrong topic. No random items, just stick to the focused topic. Stressed out, of course, people feel a little bit stressed out sometimes when they think about assessments in general, both the test takers and the test makers, of course, but be fair. That's really, really important and sort of fundamental. So you need to know what you're talking about. You need to make sure you're assessing, what your objectives have set forth. But it's really important to just be clear up front, giving the right instructions, giving no trick questions, no tricky wording or problems that are impossible to solve. Sure, again, that goes back to your goals. If you are looking to stress people out and see how they come through, or if they crack under pressure, that's fine. But if you're looking to actually assess someone's knowledge, make sure that you are actually doing that and not assessing their ability to take a tricky test. Also, make sure that you are clear in your flow, just like any survey, just like any conversation or form. Make sure that people know what's happening, know what's going up front. So from the beginning, let them know, if there's a timed element to this, if they have the chance to go back and redo anything, letting them know this section is about this section is about that. That can be really, really helpful. If nobody's on the same page, nobody is on the same page. And it's hard to assess people who are confused, and rightly so if your instructions are not easy to follow. And as a follow-up, of course, too, what's happening with the results? You're doing all of this collection for a reason. If you can automate that follow-up by giving your participants results right away, that saves you a little bit of hassle, of course, and it saves you a little bit of time too. Letting them know right away is sort of the most appropriate thing in many cases. In some cases, it doesn't make sense to show them on the results page, for example, or in an instant thanks type message. But be sure that you have a plan for that follow-up, because there's nothing worse than just sort of hoping for the best, sending your test results or quiz results out into the ether and not knowing what's going to happen next. So do make sure that you have a plan for those quiz results. Otherwise, why are you asking the questions? Make sure that you're planning for all possible outcomes. What happens if people do really well? What happens if they don't do really well? But there's a lot of plans that need to go into effect before you actually send that quiz out. So make sure that you have that plan in mind even before you launch. We'd love to hear more about your quizzes. Maybe you want to share some with us as well too. Do check out this entire blog, or maybe you want to connect with us here and share your own quizzes or suggestions. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for joining. We look forward to connecting with you again soon. In the meantime, connect with us on social media or at our website, SoGoSurvey.com. See you next time.